You're listening to the Sterling Faux Show on CKNW and the Chorus Radio Network. Once again, here's Sterling.
Welcome back as we turn our attention to all matters sporty with the very capable assistance of Jody Vance from Rogers Sportsnet in Toronto. Jody, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Sterling. How are you?
I am doing just great, thanks. I see you selling food there with Don Cherry on the tube.
Well, when someone offers you an opportunity to hang out with grapes, you can't really say no.
And what a fun guy he is.
He's fabulous.
And gee, that just can't be hurting the old career at all now either.
Well, you know, it's actually stirred up a little something out here. We got a couple of columnists who feel that I've journalistically compromised myself. Apparently they haven't seen Don Taylor selling White Spot. So
I was just going to say, and don't journalists eat anymore?
Apparently, I said, you know, I'm not a food critic. I'm not sure if you watch the show, but I don't anticipate doing a lot of Quizno stories in the near future, but okay.
Okay, so now in addition to doing many multiple sportscasts on the network, you're also the network ambassador. So what the heck does that mean?
Well, I've always really enjoyed speaking to not only kids, but to people wanting to follow sort of along the same lines as what I've been doing with my career. You and I met, geez, I'm afraid to even say how many years ago it was, but over 10, shall we say.
Yes, it has been more than a decade.
I had a lot of people who helped me along the way, and were there to answer questions and be mentors for me. So I go out and I do a lot of public speaking. I've been at BCIT and spoken to the students there in the broadcast journalism department, and I've spoken at York University, which my mom finds really ironic because I never actually went to university, but I'm speaking there.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's really fun. Just go out and talk to people about what we do at Sportsnet, and we bring some scripts and some highlights and have them take a turn at it to see what it's like to do some highlights, which is pretty fun.
Now, Rogers, in addition to owning Sportsnet, also owns the Blue Jays nowadays, don't they?
They do indeed.
And it's now the Rogers Center, the former Sky Dome, correct?
Yes, we can still call it a dome, just don't call it Sky Dome.
Oh, okay. So that's verboten on the air, is it?
Well, no, not really. It's almost like any other arena deal. It's, you know, General Motors pays a lot of money to have GM play, so
everybody calls it the garage.
And when Uncle Ted is signing your paycheck, you might want to mention his building correctly.
That's right. I've worked for Uncle Ted before in Toronto, as a matter of fact, and I do remember those days rather well. So now we have only one Canadian baseball team left, because down there just a few days ago, the President of the United States threw out the first ball for the old Montreal Expos, now the Washington Nationals, and they won.
And they've been winning consistently ever since. It's quite something.
And the town, I mean, what did they have, 47,000 for their season home opener?
They did, and then they broke a Major League Baseball record for the next day, having 38,000 people, and then I think today they had 36. They're consistently breaking attendance records for early seasons. It's quite something.
And, of course, 1 year ago, as the Montreal Expos, if they drew 5,000 to the cavernous Olympic Stadium, they were popping champagne corks.
What a horrible place to watch a ball game.
That didn't help.
It was really, you know what, I'd been a couple of times to watch the Blue Jays and Expos play, and it's so far out of the city. It's a pain in the butt to get to, first and foremost. The only thing that the Olympic Stadium really had going for it is they had the great Montreal smoked meat sandwiches and all that kind of stuff, but the actual experience of sitting in the stands, I mean, it couldn't be farther away from the feeling of Safeco Field or Fenway Park or Wrigley Field. I mean, there was nothing joyous about watching a baseball game there at all. So and not to mention the fact that the Montreal Canadiens are the be-all, end-all. So the competition there is ridiculous for the ticket price.
And baseball, of course, is now completely gone out of Montreal. In fact, they even took the carpet up off the floor of the Big O and sold it to the BC Lions. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. The Lions had this really crummy old rug on the floor over the cement at BC Place, and every team in the CFL was complaining horribly about the injuries and all the rest, turf toe and all that stuff.
And the seams. Yep. Everybody was tripping over the seams in the rug out there.
The Lions decided to break out some fresh loot, and they bought the rug from the floor of the Big O, and now they'll have a nice new, softer playing surface for CFL season 2005 at BC Place.
I did not know that. Well, good on them.
Yeah.
Anything for the CFL. There's one sport I very much enjoy.
Now, you're a West Coast girl, so and so you will forgive me but for being just a dyed-in-the-wool Mariners fan. But when you moved back to Toronto a bunch of years ago now, and working for the company that owns the Blinken Blue Jays, have you converted, or do you still find yourself leaning towards other loyalties?
Well, my husband works for the Blue Jays.
Oh, for crying out loud.
I'm sorry, but you know what? I still love those Mariners.
Okay.
We're actually coming out to see the Mariners Blue Jays series at the end of May, beginning of June.
And what does your husband do with the Blue Jays? He's
the assistant director of baseball operations.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
So no problem getting tickets to any of those games.
My girlfriends and I have a very good time going and sitting in our very good seats.
Now, how about here's a good old Toronto cliche, so how about those Blue Jays, eh?
How about those Blue Jays, eh?
So what's happening this year?
It's pretty spectacular. It really is. They lost today, but they have yet to lose a series in the season. Last year, it took them all of April to get 7 wins, and they've got 8. They had 8 as of the 15th of April. Had they won today, they would have maintained first place in the AL East, which is unheard of against the likes of the Yankees and the Red Sox.
Absolutely.
And even the Baltimore Orioles, for that matter, because the Orioles are pretty stacked these days. But they've got a great nucleus of guys. They've got a good balance between veterans and sort of sophomore players and some really talented rookies. There's some great guys to be looking out for, particularly in the pitching staff that are blowing people away.
You know, one thing that always surprised me about the Blue Jays, given that the Montreal Expos had been around as an established, the only Canadian franchise for so long, and then along come these upstart Blue Jays in the other league in Toronto, and within a matter of 2 or 3 incredibly short years, they went from nobodies to being Canada's team. They simply outmarketed the Expos right into the ground.
It's really quite shocking. I think if that strike-shortened year hadn't happened, the year that the Expos were the best team in baseball, the Expos might have put themselves back on the map. I think they got the short end of the stick on that, but there's something about this Toronto-centric mindset and the fact that there is so much big business here, and there's so many people that can attach their names to that wagon, if you will, and if that wagon's successful, then everybody wins, and there's that sort of momentum feeling, and then a couple of World Series victories, and you're on the map.
I remember those well.
Yeah, well, I remember sitting at the Planet Cafe on Granville Street, watching it up on their TV screens, and everybody in Vancouver, as much as we love to hate Toronto, we were all captivated by the Blue Jays in those winning years. It was something else.
No question about it. Let me take a quick break here, and I'll turn the page and talk a little Team Canada World Cup hockey, and maybe even Argos.
Argos.
Jody Vance from Rogers Sportsnet on the line from the Big Smoke TO. Back with more after this on the Chorus Radio Network.